One of the biggest mistakes that I see beauty pros make when raising their prices is that they do it with absolutely no strategy. They just kind of repeat what they were taught. Their haircuts go up by $5, their colors go up by $10. Maybe they do that same thing every year or every few years. Maybe they don't even know why they picked those numbers other than that's what the person who mentored them 20 years ago told them to do. And that has to stop because over time that creates a service menu that is completely unbalanced. Inside of Stylist Soul Tribe, I do not coach to random price increases like that. I coach data-driven supply and demand price increases. I have other videos on that, and that is my main philosophy when it comes to pricing. But even if you are doing a very strategic supply and demand increase, even if you earned a 10%, 15%, 20, 30% increase, I still like to run one more cross-check before finalizing the menu. And this is what I call the price per minute clarity check. This is one of my favorite ways to look for imbalances inside of a service menu, because sometimes the menu has been built over years and years of random tweaks, random increases, timing changes, service changes, and little adjustments that made sense in the moment, but when you zoom out, everything is off. So in this video, I want to walk you through exactly what the price per minute clarity check is, how to do it, why I think it matters so much, and how I use it to help stylists create a menu that makes sense along with or before implementing a price increase. Okay, so before we get into the math, I want to make sure something is really clear. Price per minute is not the main reason that I would ever coach someone to raising their prices. The main reason that I coach to price increases, like I said earlier, is based on supply and demand. Meaning, if demand is rising, if your schedule is filling up, if you are getting more requests than you can comfortably accommodate, if there are signs in the business that the demand is there, that is when I believe that you have earned the right to raise your prices. I coach pricing in a very data-driven, low emotional way, 100% math, and that is my core philosophy. But where stylists get into trouble is this. Even when they've earned a price increase, they often apply that increase in a way that still doesn't fully optimize their menu. Because if years ago you were raising your haircuts by $5 and colors by $10, even though one service takes an hour and the other takes 3 hours, over time those differences stack up and compound. That's where the price per minute clarity check comes in. It's not replacing how I coach to price increases, but it's cross-checking the menu after supply and demand has been considered so we can see whether the service structure is actually balanced. Let's talk about why service menus get so unbalanced. So most stylists do not intentionally build an unbalanced menu. It usually happens slowly. Years ago, you may set your haircut price at a price that felt right then, and then a couple years later you raised it by a few dollars. But then your color felt expensive, so you checked what the stylist down the street was charging and you just matched her. And then you decided to add a complimentary gloss along with your highlights. And then you changed your timing because you got faster. And then you added a mini foil express option. Then you changed the root retouch timing from 90 minutes to 2 hours because you bundled it with a haircut. And then maybe you adjusted one thing but not another. And before you know it, your menu is not strategically priced anymore. It is just a bunch of numbers that somehow ended up there over time. So on paper, it might look fine to you. Let's go over an example. A haircut might cost $60 for 60 minutes. A highlight might be $300 for 3 hours, and a root retouch might be $95 for 2 hours. And if you just glance at those prices, nothing immediately jumps out. But when you break them down by minute, you start to see a very different story. So let's talk about what is price per minute. The math itself is very simple. You take the service price and divide it by the minutes booked. That gives you the price per minute for that service. So if a haircut is $60, like we said, and it takes 60 minutes, that service is earning $1 per minute. If a highlight is $300 and it takes 180 minutes, 3 hours, that service is earning $1.66 per minute. If a root retouch is $95 and it takes 120 minutes, 2 hours, that service is earning 79 cents per minute. And this is where the imbalances get really obvious, because now you're no longer just looking at the total price, you're looking at how efficiently each service pays you for your time. Okay, I want to walk you through how to do this audit yourself in your business. It's incredibly simple. Open a spreadsheet, list every single service on your menu. Then next to each service, write the current price, the current timing, and then calculate the price per minute. That's it. Once you have that full list, you can start comparing the numbers. You can also look for a middle range or a median that helps you see what's high and what's low and where things are off. Now, one super important note here. I am not using this exercise to ever tell a stylist to lower their prices. I would never coach someone to lower their prices if their clients are happily paying that amount and the business has earned increases through supply and demand. That is not the point here. The point is to identify what is lagging behind so that you can make a strategic game plan to bring the menu into better balance over time. Sometimes that happens in one single price increase, sometimes it happens in a couple of waves, and I think that that is perfectly fine. Okay, now let's talk about what to do if your menu is really off. Let's say you run the math and you realize one of your services is way behind. Maybe your haircut price per minute is at $1, but another premium service is already earning $1.66 per minute. That doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to close that gap overnight, especially if the correction would require a massive jump. I do not coach to price increases above 30%. So if you've earned a 20% increase, that would move it from $1 per minute to $1.20 per minute. That's progress, but it's not fully caught up yet, and that's okay. We're now aware of this and we can make a plan. We can do a strategic increase now, continue to stick with intentional marketing, increase our demand, and then 6 months to a year from now, we will implement another increase to continue to bring that service into better alignment while leaving the higher priced service alone until the rest catch up. That is a much smarter way to handle pricing than just randomly tossing numbers onto the menu. Now, I think it's important to talk about why I like a similar price per minute across all services. This is probably the part of my philosophy that is a little different than most coaches and educators. A lot of stylists assume that color services should always earn more price per minute because the color has a direct product cost. And yes, color absolutely has a direct back bar cost. You're buying foil, color, toner, bleach, developer, all of it. But I actually do not think that that automatically means that haircutting and styling should be priced differently, because haircutting and styling still have costs. They're just delayed costs. They show up differently. They show up as physical wear and tear. They show up as rotator cuff issues, carpal tunnel, massage appointments, chiropractor visits, doctor visits, your body breaking down over time, purchasing new shears, capes, combs, etc. So while the cost is not sitting in a color bowl in front of you, it's still real. And that really matters to me. I also like a similar price per minute across the menu because it creates more income stability. If every haircut day earns dramatically less than every color day, your weekly income becomes much more unpredictable. One day is a great day, another day feels weak, one week feels amazing, another week feels disappointing. But when the menu is more balanced, your income stabilizes. And I personally like that. And I find that it helps prevent resentment towards those lower price services. Okay, let's give a real example of how this plays out. Let's say a stylist has earned a 20% price increase based on supply and demand. Instead of automatically applying 20% to every service evenly, we're gonna run the price per minute audit first. Maybe the highlight price per minute is pretty high, so that one stays the same or barely moves. But maybe the haircut has been underpriced for years, so we do a full 20% increase there. Maybe the retouch price per minute is incredibly low and you are just now noticing. If that's the case, maybe we raise that one up by like 30% to start to bridge that gap. Now, instead of a random increase, we have true strategy. The goal here is to make your menu intentional, maybe for the first time ever. Every time I do this exercise with beauty pros, we almost always discover something useful. Usually it's one of three things. One, there are services that are clearly underpriced. Two, there are services that are earning a ton price per minute and we don't want to raise those anymore and risk losing some of those highest paying clients. Or three, there are opportunities to simplify the menu and clean things up. And that kind of clarity is really powerful. Now I'm going to show you a real example using Melissa's spreadsheet so that you can see exactly what that looks like in action. Okay, we're going to look at it. Her services, her current pricing, her timing, and her price per minute. And I want you to notice how quickly the imbalances become obvious once you actually run the numbers. So here is Melissa's price per minute spreadsheet. So we have all of her services, her old pricing, the amount of time that it took, and it runs the price per minute. So you can see her express curl cut is earning way more per minute than her refresh with no haircut was earning her. So we marked these high ones green and we marked the low one red. What Melissa ended up doing was just getting rid of this service because she realized that the people who were getting it actually should be getting a different service. So again, this cross-check is really helpful. Sometimes you realize you're undercharging specific people and you don't know it and you don't know why. So once Melissa raised all of her prices, You can now see that her price per minute is much more balanced and much higher, and what used to be her lowest price per minute at 91 cents is now $1.42, which is actually higher than what she was before she earned this price increase. So this has happened over time. She ended up doing a 20% price increase, and it has really, really balanced her out and exposed a flaw, which was the refresh no cuts, and we decided stop it right now. We're not going to be doing those anymore. So build yourself a spreadsheet similar to this. It can be extremely eye-opening, and if and when you do, feel free to DM me on Instagram a screenshot of it. I would love to help walk you through this. If you've never done a pricing audit like this before, I highly recommend opening a spreadsheet and running your numbers. It really does not take long, and it can completely change how you think about your service menu. Again, I do not want you using price per minute as your only pricing method. My main pricing philosophy is still supply and demand, so make sure that you watch that video first. I'll link it down below. But this is one of the smartest cross-checks I know for catching imbalances and making your menu more strategic. And if you want more support with pricing, demand, marketing, and building a beauty business that actually works, it is a huge part of what we do inside of Stylist Soul Tribe. Shoot me a DM over on Instagram and I would love to help you out. Thank you so much for being here, and I will see you in the next video.